progress.
Thank you.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock. Want to welcome everybody to the September 19th, 2023 Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. We have two public hearings that we're going to conduct. A third application for Allison Dawes. Apparently she is not here tonight. So we're going to be postponing the review and decision on that application in October. So if there's anybody here who's intending to speak, you have from now until next meeting, either to submit your comments, or you could be present at that meeting in October. Is there anybody here regarding that particular application? Well, it's going to be postponed. The only thing, again, I'm thinking that if somebody were here, you could open the public hearing, continue with, but then be done next month, we'll do that. At this time, what we like to do is conduct what we call the open forum or privilege of the floor. If any questions or concerns that people would want to address to the zoning board, and it's not necessarily need to be items that are on the agenda. So if there's anybody here who would like to speak regarding the open forum, sir.
Yep.
Robert Haver, 768 Lawson Road. I brought to the township's attention 3-4 weeks ago in reference to a zoning violation, a structure that is too close to a property line. I've had surveying done, brought a copy of the survey report showing. I found out that a permit was issued. The landowner applied for a variance to the zoning department, wanting to go from 40 feet to 20 feet, and were denied. Ended up building the building less than 10 feet. Now, I thought Chris was going to be here to present this to the zoning board.
I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah, you have to bring us up to speed because I'm not.
Well, I think it's like was talking to Mr. Eager. I think it's a Teresa. This is going to be a Teresa question,
Okay.
and she'll be here Thursday, so I could actually show her the maps and all that other stuff. So what happened is, the landowner next to him applied for a variance in 2010, I believe. Something like that. I don't have the paperwork right in front of me, but they were denied for a variance. They then put in for a building permit, which was given to them. But on the application, I would say they lied. They put the setbacks on the application as 40 to 40 feet. The building permit was issued, a CO for the building was then issued, and it's after having surveyed, it's 9.9 feet 6 inches from the property line.
10 feet.
So now I'm really not, this was way before me, so I'm really not sure
Okay, and I'm not even sure.
what to
So
do.
a 20-foot variance was requested. And it
A
was,
variance was denied according to BMSI. A variance for this garage, for a garage,
okay,
was denied in 2010. I think that's when it all took place. Might have been 2012, something like that.
all right.
We do have that a variance for a garage was denied. Then a building permit was put in after that with the setbacks on the building permit that aren't the setbacks that the garage is at.
Okay. So the garage ended up actually being like 10 feet from the property line.
Less than 10 feet.
Okay.
And he had the property surveyed. So we have an actual survey map
Okay,
Stakes are there.
by an engineer.
okay,
So that's why I was probably a Teresa question.
all right, yeah.
I mean-
So we have access to the decision and the building
Yep.
permit information?
Yep.
Okay,
15. Going for 115 zoning ordinance. Of course, I understand if I read this correctly, that they should be notified of the problem and how they plan on rectifying it.
Okay, again, without knowing all the specific details. Again, just, Teresa Wagner, town council will probably have to review it and then give us guidance as how to best proceed. It would probably be beyond what the, zoning board would be enforcing at that point anyway. So,
What's the sense of having rules and regulations?
well,
Enforce them.
well, apparently, well, again, whatever occurred apparently was not enforced. And again, I don't recall that specific variance request and denial, to be honest. I mean, if this happened back in 2010. So,
Public record.
well,
For Waynesburg Township.
Well, I think,
fair enough, but again, this is the first I'm hearing of.
Okay.
yeah,
So
Bob,
where do we go from here?
I think, listen, it's not about not enforcing, it's how to enforce it the right way. I'm gonna be honest, I've been here for 8 months. I've
I
no,
understand.
you know, so if we're gonna enforce it, I personally, if I'm gonna enforce it, I wanna do it the right way. Right? So I need to talk, right, yeah. Right,
Shouldn't keep going on and dragging on. They should be notified of their wrongdoing.
agreed, but what, I have to find out what we can do after that. You understand what I'm saying? I'm sending them a notice, but what am I sending them a notice? Like, what is, am I giving them,
States that they're notified and given the opportunity to come up with a resolution.
right, but what's the period of time, right? These are all questions I have to ask the attorney, like, how long am I giving them? Am I giving them 30 days? She's coming, she'll be here in the building Thursday, and I was gonna talk to her about it Thursday. Because that's something, I have your paperwork, I have all the paperwork that we found. I wanna sit with her and actually show it to her, so she's coming in early Thursday to sit with me and go over this. And I think I had a conversation with you last week that I told you she'd be here this week and I was gonna talk to her. Yeah. Right, she wants to see it, right? I can talk to her about it all I want, but she wants to physically see the information. So, and I will, you know, this isn't something like I told you, it's sitting right on my desk, so it's not,
The zoning, right, that's why.
Yeah.
Well, again, we have to see the details again as to what was initially requested. Apparently it was denied. This was back in 2010, but subsequent building took place that I guess even violated what variance was denied, correct?
I think what else, Bob, is what he's asking, and correct me if I'm wrong. Even though, forget about the variance being denied, they built a garage. The setbacks on the application weren't the actual setbacks, so they then built this garage, so now there's a garage there. Right, so he's wondering if that's a zoning thing, like, is that something they broke a zoning law? So by building it 9 feet 6 inches without a variance from the property line. Well, I mean, we can.
They went ahead and did anyway under 10 feet.
Well, fair enough, but again, I don't recall that specific application, and whatever did take place, obviously, was after the fact, and it's. Yeah.
There's two parties that's gotta get in, an attorney and the zoning board.
Well,
The attorney will
By the zoning
review
board.
and advise us and. What happened?
Should have an answer by
Friday morning. I mean, I'm gonna talk to her about it Thursday. I'm sure she's gonna have some, you know, counsel for me as to how to proceed with this, or, you know, what steps. The thing is I'm not gonna send a notice for you have 30 days to rectify this or whatever and be wrong, right? I don't want to send the wrong information to these people. Yes, they do need to be notified. You're 100% right. Okay, but if I was Dale Warner and I was here for 25 years, I probably would know what to do, right? But I don't know what to do.
Have you talked to Dale about this?
Yes, I've
And-
tried, and he doesn't seem to know what to do with it either.
Well,
Because
he
I,
obviously was here.
yes, but I don't know if it was him or was Dom here then? No, Dale signed the
Dale
permit.
was-
No, Dale did sign the permit.
Well, then he was here at the time, so again, it's probably something you'll have to revisit and then
Yeah,
take it from there.
If I can ask, you became aware of this, what after the survey was done?
Now, I became aware of it when I looked at the Schenectady County land website that showed property lines,
Sims
and
imaging.
it showed it probably going to a third of her garage. At that time I approached her and I said, look at this. Oh, they can't do it. They can be off by 10, 20 feet. I know, but I just want to get this straightened out. I'm gonna get surveyors take this property line. I got a will, something that his wife and I, we got children, we got grandchildren that inherit all this land. I don't want to leave a problem for them. I'm trying to clean this up.
So the garage is essentially built on your property?
No, it's within 9 feet 8 and 8'6" of the property line.
Gotcha, okay.
Now, it's 8 foot something and 9 foot something.
First, I'll have to follow up. And again, I would find out from Gail if he recalls what the actual scenario was.
yeah. I don't think he did when I asked him.
Okay,
I think that's why he's having trouble with it because he doesn't remember it.
okay.
13.
Fairness to Dale. He goes and inspects the building, trusting in the people that have done the right thing and
Right.
over a property line.
Right.
I think he was snowballed.
Yeah.
I think they had the attitude that, oh, we're just gonna go ahead and get it where we want it because nobody's gonna know. Because they knew, they asked for a variance.
Yeah.
Right, I'll wait there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, I mean, that's probably all we can do for you tonight anyway. Lance?
Lance and Woody Madden, 143 Albert Road, Lansing. They were here last month. And we brought up the issue, the new ordinance about accessory buildings. And again, just to reiterate, the issue arose, when my next door neighbor, he placed this structure on our common property line. The orientation, placed the eave of the building parallel to our property line so that the roof runoff falls on our property. I have a small 48 square foot greenhouse in our garden. And our neighbor has this new building, 140 square feet, 3 feet from the property line. And another 160 square foot, will be 18 feet from the side, from our sideline. And my neighbor across the street has 3 buildings. Now, the stated purpose of the zoning ordinance is to preserve the rural character of the town. Over the years, this ordinance has been revised many times, which among other things has increased lot sizes with great emphasis on preserving green yard space. Every zone prescribes a maximum lot coverage area. When I inquired of the building department, as I said last month, as to the current requirements for accessory buildings, I was informed, and this came from Dale, that buildings under a certain size were not regulated at all because they do not require a building permit under the New York State Building Code. So therefore, any number could be placed on a lot of any height and orientation right on the property line. Interestingly, if I wanted to place a fence, which also doesn't require a building permit, against this building of the same height, it can't be higher than 6 feet. The interpretation of the zoning ordinance appears to me to be a contravention of every section of the zoning ordinance. The idea that these buildings are too small to be of concern doesn't make sense, as a 144 square feet is larger than many bedrooms. So what happens to green yard space when you can fill it with storage sheds? How do you maintain the maximum percentage of lot coverage when you can increase it with these buildings. At the very least, and this is the last I'll say on the subject, I would hope that the board would look to amending the ordinance to address the proliferation of these structures around the town and to provide some regulation, as every other town surrounding us does regulate regardless of size. So, thank you.
And in response to, again, we had this discussion last meeting. We did reach out to the attorney, and what she has suggested is that we hold a public hearing, which will occur next month, and address the issue of accessory building setbacks, accessory buildings less than 144 square feet. So that's kind of where we can go. And because she felt that what we've done informally is okay, but we need to come up with a formal response, meaning we'll have a public hearing, and then we'll make a resolution and then take a vote on that.
You have to do these processes for the entire community.
Absolutely. And again, because it's not necessarily, it is somewhat based on your circumstance, but it also is something that, you know, would affect the community as a whole, because are not, there is not anything that specifically says how to deal with a accessory building less than 144 square feet. I think we both acknowledged in the meeting last time, there are other communities that do address that. So so it may be a matter of just that we need to kind of start fine tuning.
It seems all over town. I'm just concerned that we set a precedent by allowing it anywhere.
Well, right, but in order for us to address that, we need to come up with a formal response and take it from there. Any other participation as far as the open forum is concerned? Well, that's the other issue that apparently, is there anybody online?
We do have one, Lynn Burning.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's-
So my understanding now is that as far as Zoom participation, it's basically just observing the meeting,
Correct.
and we're not going to be able to
Interact.
interact or receive
No.
either audio or video. That if somebody wanted to participate, they have the opportunity to send an email or write a letter regarding.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that has to do with the concern about the Zoom bombing, which ends up interrupting the
The
Zoom,
meetings.
connections. So,
Correct. Yep.
okay. Now, has that been made public?
Yes, it's on the website. Jen put it on the website.
Okay, that was done.
This was
when?
done at the last town board meeting.
Okay, and this is for all
Yes.
All meetings.
future Zoom?
Yep.
Okay. Basically, you can observe.
You're gonna be allowed to watch the meetings live, but you won't be able to interact.
I guess at this point, then we can, so we have two public hearings, the first of which Nicholas Antanasio, are you here? And if you just want to give us another quick overview of what you're looking at, how to.
I'm Nasio, I'm the captain of that.
Oh,
And
okay,
would be the one building,
okay,
the garage. So what we're looking to do is do a 28 by 42 garage. which would be going right here at the end of the driveway. This one doesn't have the one with the garage placed on it. The proposed garage on it. But I do have, this one
Yeah.
right here.
That's cool.
And there,
Which I can show you.
is that it?
There's an tree, oh, yeah, it should be right there on the side.
So, the garage is going right here.
So
This
really-
is, yeah,
That's the Harry Turnpike,
yes.
okay, the entrance to the property, driveway.
Driveway's up here. The Harry Turnpike is the first driveway on the right side after you turn off the Western Turnpike. But you come down the driveway, the house is located right here.
It's just has
It's a
the garage
little
on
over
it.
5 acre
We don't
lot.
have one with the garage on it.
There's a swimming pool right here.
Don't even worry about it.
Up in the front here is where the well is located, so it's quite a bit more than 100 feet from where the proposed garage is. And the septic is over on the right side of the house, which is once again, way over 100 feet from where the garage would be going. The garage would be 28 foot 6 inches off the property line. By code, it has to be 40 foot, so we're looking to gain 11 foot 6 inches.
Okay.
So we can keep it centered in the driveway and not too close to the pool. The back of the garage would still be 330 feet from the back of the property. This is all a wooded area, so there wouldn't be any type of, any kind of, it wouldn't hurt any of the different, parts of any other properties abutting to us. Gary Relations lives in the house next door to the left. He is here tonight.
Okay.
I live over here on this property, and then my daughter lives next door on that property. So I'm at 496 and my daughter's at 540. We have 3 houses on the street.
So, and if I recall, the 28 by 40 foot garage,
Yes,
and so it's really only in need of a west side.
yes, it would be just right here. Yes,
Okay.
and the only setback would be right here that we need.
Okay,
We would be 28 foot 6 inches off the property line.
okay. I think we rounded it off to 12 feet.
Yeah, that's fine.
You get a
Yes,
little
yes,
extra wiggle room.
yes. I gave you guys, a sketch of the garage. So it would be brick in the front, 2-car garage, single story. So there would be no upstairs, just storage in the rafters. That's it.
That's attached to it, right?
It's a detached garage. This is the look of the house. So the garage would match the house. It'll have the same type of windows, brick in the front and the same, roof and siding on the sides. So it matched totally with the house.
Okay.
No, again, no grease pit. There's no work getting done or anything like that. on any of it. Here's this is where it's actually going. There's the pool right here. This is the corner of the house right here. So this is coming off the blacktop, the existing blacktop driveway, and this is where it would go right in the second. And once again, about 28 foot off the side of the property, and it's about 30 foot off the pool.
So it has a little higher than.
It should be the same height, if you take a look at it, pass that around. Same height as the pool, maybe a few inches low.
Yeah, I see.
Show them last.
Yes.
If anyone has any questions for me, I'd be glad to answer.
Okay, yeah, you can see
Okay.
everything.
Sure.
28 by 40 is right. I thought you said 28 by 42 during.
What did I have?
Right.
This one's spoken in the beginning. It's
It's
28 by 40, I'm sorry. It is 28 by 40.
Okay, yeah, that's what.
Sorry about that.
So again, this is Steve.
Thank you.
All right, so I'll make a motion that we open the public hearing regarding this variance application. If everybody is interested in speaking, you state your name and then.
My property. I can see a lot of water damage my property. According to the Army Corps of Engineers, this property should raise to the back, not to the side. Iverson Excavation got involved with me on it, and same thing, this property should drain to the rear and not to the right, from into my property. So I need to know what he would like to do about the drainage situation. This building is going to affect.
I can answer that. I
Okay.
can answer that. So the building is going on the left side. And if anything, if you look at the property, no water should run to the right side at all, because everything would go, it all pitches down. When you go to the left, all that water or any water that came down would all drain that way. Which actually would go towards Deering's property and then towards my property. And what we would, well, of course, we'll have gutters on the side of it, which would have a drain pipe coming down, and it would go all to the left side. There should be zero effect to your property at all.
Right now, I've got a ton of water coming down, it's rolling.
I don't think that's from our property. I'm sure that you probably had that from the beginning. We've had 13 inches of rain we had in July.
Back during the summer, there was numerous water trucks. Dumping whatever it is.
Right, that would be pressure run for the driveway.
Instead of my backyard, that field used to be nice and smooth.
I don't see how it can be. We're over 330 feet even from
Since
the
this
back.
house was built, that's when all the construction was happening.
Well, to be honest with you, when we first built the house, you came in before we even built it and put no trespassing signs on over 80 different trees
Right.
all around the whole property. So we have done nothing but to make sure that nothing goes anywhere near your property. We know that you were very concerned about that right off the beginning. So we've made sure that nothing will go towards your property. And there shouldn't be anything. We have over 5 acre lot. There should be zero going towards that property.
So this was your property there? Okay.
There's no house directly to the right of my property. There's not even a house there, to be honest with you.
Well,
Well, it's a wooded area.
Right, right.
My house is one of the further in my barn.
Anything though, because it's on the left hand side, the water would go towards the left, but we're gonna eliminate that by what we're doing with it.
I guess the concern is, would this additional construction then result in more water perhaps going that way, or?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna be over here.
Yeah.
And then everything will be going to the rear of the property and there's still 300 feet back there.
That's a heavily wooded area. There's just no way that any water would go to the right or even get to the back.
Is there a way to put a channel there or something?
Yeah, yeah.
It can be.
We can do that. That's not a problem at all, because we're gonna have gutters on it, on the front and back. And we could run that pipe down, and that would go towards the left side. And so there'd be no way that any water would run, even off the roof. That would go towards the right storage inside the.
Would that alleviate the objection at least? The ramp to the right, they're running my.
Right. You bring in this.
Yes?
Information. Of course, before, during their fight. Neighbors with Nick and Dean, my property is directly to the left as we're looking here on the map, closest to the garage. Water happens, rain happens, we live on clay up there. I don't have a concern with it. It's not a huge building. It will be closest to my property line. So there's not issues 13 years down the road. I just wanted to come and express my support for it tonight. Don't have an issue with it. Every building that Dean and Nick has built is immaculate. Well drained, excellent buildings. They said there's gonna be gutters on it and the water's taken care of. With another 300 feet to the right, I don't see possibly how a 40-foot building could shed that much water to move 300 feet across a pool through their house to go to the land next door. My land there, of course, pasture hasn't seen no effect with it. With the fill that's been brought in already, Dean said they put gutters on it, and I would be happy with that. And I'm just here to express my support for the variance.
Other comments? Concerns? I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing regarding this matter.
Chairman Gage,
Aye.
Board Member Ganster.
Aye.
Board Member Leone. Board Member Boggs. Board Member Lack.
So I want to run through the findings. And again, we're looking at a 12-foot variance on the west side for the construction of the garage. And the first thing, whether an undesirable change would be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby property. So we could say no, provided adequate water control was part of the construction.
We have no problem with all of that.
Whether the benefits sought by the applicant could be achieved by a feasible alternative to the variance. Whether the requested variance is substantial. Would the variance have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood?
Had the same purview,
Okay,
water and.
we'll say no, but again, conditions addressing. Whether the alleged difficulty was self-inflicted. Going to provide a motion.
I'll make a motion to grant to Nicholas Atanasio of 430 Smith Turnpike, SBL number 68-2-43, a west side yard setback variance of 12 feet to construct a 28 by 40-foot single-story detached garage for the findings of section 8.6 one, provided a building permit be obtained within 6 months and all other aspects of the ordinance be followed.
And that, conditions addressing and preventing additional runoff be taken into consideration.
Board Member Ganster. Board Member Boggs. Chairman Gage.
Aye.
Board Member Leone.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Lack.
It would be good to provide details as to what can be put in place. Again, whatever runoff is occurring now, we don't want to.
I'll put it in zones.
You're all set.
Have a good night.
Want to revisit what,
I want to put the house right here. Supposed to have 80 feet from the property line. We were unaware that they had 33 feet from the center line. When we first staked it out, we thought we were 82.5 feet. We weren't. From the property line, we're only 65 feet at the closest, so we're looking for a variance for 15 feet. Actually 14.5, but rounded off to 15 feet. Which still sits pretty far off the road. It does, yeah, I see some other closer ones, that's a far one off, we wanted to keep it closer so that we don't have to allow it to go. Just weren't aware we were that close.
and currently, construction is suspended.
Yes, we do have a walls up, they'll let us put the walls up. The footing was put in, when he found that out, is when the walls were being poured. So they'll let us continue with pouring the walls, and then everything will stop.
What is the footprint of the house?
It's a 30 by 34.
And it's 2.5 story, I think. That's-
Yeah, it's a garage underneath with a house on top, two bedroom house.
But it is less than 35.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we probably know that.
Yeah, up in the front, 500, you know, and the side of this side, 500 something. No plot plan, we thought we were at 82.5. And then after they put a halt to everything, we registered it and surveyed.
Yeah, but no, that's part of it. I mean, you weren't sterilized on it. This was a construction that had been underway, and then it was determined that it was closer to the property line than. Should have been originally set.
But you already had.
Yeah,
It's like
we already have-
2010.
Tell us the date, so that makes it easier.
No. Sure. This is all empty lot. The next lot up here, they're putting a building up and we wanted to subdivide three different ones. There's a house over here. Across the street, and there's another one way down the road, and there's nothing over here, nothing back here. Nothing around. It's the house here. Forrest has a house down the road. But otherwise, there's nothing next to it. Yeah, this is right. On Route 30. Yeah.
It's like in the triangle by Eaton's Corners. If you're going towards Amsterdam, where Eaton's Corners goes down, it's like 4 lots up on the left.
Here's the septic that is already.
If you were required to move the house, you would have to basically rip up the septic.
Well, I'd have to rip up that, yeah. Walls and everything. I'd have to move to another town. I'd have to do.
All right, that being said, I want to make a motion that we open the public hearing regarding this variance request.
Chairman Gage,
Aye.
Board Member, or Vice Chairman Lack. Board Member Ganster. Board Member Boggs. And Board Member Leone.
Is there anybody here that is speaking on this application? Currently not, so I'll make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Chairman Gage,
Aye.
Board Member Boggs. Board Member Ganster. Board Member Leone. And Vice Chairman Lack.
Now we're going through the findings. First being whether an undesirable change would be produced in character in the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties. Whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by a feasible alternative to the variance. Yeah, well, whether the request variance is substantial. Not really. Would the variance have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood? Whether the alleged difficulty was self-created. In an oddball sort of way, yes, but it is. Just a recognition of that. So again, now we would need a motion for this particular application.
Thirty-six sixty Mariahville Road, Johansson, SBL 5200-1-43. A 15-foot front yard variance for the construction of a 2.5-story 30 by 34 well. Provided a new building permit be issued within 6 months and all other aspects of the law.
Vice Chairman Lack. Chairman Gage,
Aye.
Board Member Ganster. Board Member Boggs. And Board Member Leone.
I don't know, did you extend the permit, or did you?
Just
Yeah,
got
we
this
just,
order.
yeah, we just.
He
stopped
doesn't
work.
need to reapply for a new.
It'll have to be amended or something.
Yeah.
So that it's
No,
taken into account.
yeah, we'll take care of it.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
See you, Kyle.
Right.
You know that?
Yeah. People that wanted to speak left.
So what we more or less dealt last time, regarding an accessory building that was placed proximate to a property line. Photos.
They have less.
Yeah, okay.
The chairman, for the buildings. Not taking any ordinance, it still counts for maximum lot coverage.
Well, they could, but again, they're kind of small potatoes, given what, lot coverage is allowed. One of the issues, these are R2 zone properties, so normally, the minimum is 100,000 square feet. For some reason, and at the time, they may have been legal to do so, to have these lots that much smaller, but the requirement now is that at least, and the lot was created when? Right, which would have been well prior to the current, requirements. So as far as lot coverage, and I think it's like 30%, which again, is a considerable amount, but the other issue too, an accessory building less than 144 square feet doesn't require a building permit, and the determination by the building inspector was that it was not subject to the zoning ordinance as it is written now. So, and that is, we did note that there are other communities that do have at least an acknowledgement of accessory buildings that don't require building permits, but they are limited. Some have even like a limit to the percentage of the primary dwelling. An accessory building, again, which is also not even, would not be covered by the prorated setbacks that we normally provide for, pre-existing smaller lots. And again, that only applies to single family dwelling. So there's been kind of a lacking as to how to deal with, accessory buildings, either in number or size, and again, what setback requirements there should or should not be regarding this building. So, again, we discussed this informally. We reached out to Teresa, and she said that what we should do is provide a formal response to this particular scenario. And it's in as much that we more or less provide something that would cover all accessory buildings, say, from this time forward. Obviously, we're not going to go back and have people, move accessory buildings that have long since been in place. But it would at least possibly need to provide some kind of, recognition and ordinance that would prevent, again, just a continuation continuation of accessory buildings not meeting any, setback requirements.
I think it answered Dan's question, if the building inspector would have find more than 30% of the lot covered by these buildings, he could come up with a section 15 violation.
Reading of the ordinance. Specify.
What covers 30%?
Well, it's usually the entire lot.
Right, but then that's different from the setback section.
Well, the concern is that they're not really regulated whatsoever. So that's what we're gonna be tasked to do, at least explore that. So for the next meeting, and again, this is based on Teresa's recommendation, that we're gonna set a public hearing, and then we're gonna provide and address an interpretation of the inspector's interpretation that allows, again, accessory buildings that don't require building permits and are less than 144 square feet. So we'll be doing some homework, and again, have to try to comb through the zoning ordinance and see what might be applicable or not.
Question of what benefits is being sought.
Fair enough. And again, like I say, this is where we're gonna have to kind of comb through the zoning ordinance and see what might be applicable to this, or again, just my look was that there was not much. So,
You're close to the vote.
no, it's fine.
Okay, my only question was, as I spoke with Chris Dale, it seems like the only way that they're saying that these aren't regulated, because it doesn't fall under the New York State Building Construction Code. And as I pointed out, I think in one of my letters, there's several things in our ordinance that don't require building permits, like fences don't, but yet you regulate them. Loading zones don't, but yet you have a chart on the amount of parking for commercial buildings. No building permit is required. So I fail to understand how using that as a reason for saying it doesn't have to comply with any regulation. That's the only point I wanted to make. A lot of things you don't require building permits, yet you still regulate them.
And again, this is the first time I've seen this kind of circumstance where it has become an issue, and like I say, it is addressed in other municipalities in one form or another. So, yeah, and again, we kind of based this on your response, because I asked Teresa, well, what is the procedure for, asking for an interpretation? Again, we did it through basically the open forum, which is fine. We discussed things kind of informally, but until we address it formally, take the information and then come to a vote. So,
As I stated tonight, I'm less concerned about the immediate instance as to what we're going to do going forward. If upon, determination, that you're not going to do anything about what's existing, at least consider revising the ordinance to control it in the future. We got 500 of these things sitting down on Route 30.
well,
A bunch of them sitting up on Route 20. When did it be sold? They're putting them in all over the place. Everywhere you look.
right.
Like I say, we've got 5 of them right on Albert Road, which is 1,000 feet long. There's already 5 buildings here, so how are you gonna limit the quantity?
Yeah, I think there's various ways that, what I've seen other municipalities, they may, usually an accessory building is in support of the main building. I guess that's how it's somehow turned, and I have this in my notes. And then, they prescribe, some specifications for a first accessory building, and then can limit subsequent accessory buildings.
Well, I checked the night before I came, I looked at this unit, which is not a bordering town. They actually go in and have no size limitation, and they say you can have a maximum of 3 accessories, and they include fences. So if you have a fence, you can only have 2. They won't allow more than 3 accessory structures.
Right.
I mean, that's just misleading. Every town is different.
A lot of these are considered portable or temporary buildings because they're prefabricated. you know,
Oh, yeah.
require foundations. and
There's no
stuff, so-
foundation, right, which is one of the reasons they don't require building permit. It's understandable.
But they raised them 2 feet, put them up there, and then the land is 2 feet above yours, and then they put no gutters on them.
That's another issue. I think they really gotta look at it too. Okay, we'll see you next month, guys.
Thank you for looking into it. You're welcome. So, with that being said, so what I'm gonna do is, set a public hearing, for October 17th, 2023, 7 p.m. To address an interpretation of the zoning board code and an appeal of the building inspector's interpretation regarding setback requirements for accessory buildings less than 144 square feet.
Assume that's a motion to set the public hearing.
Yes,
Okay.
It's 144 square feet or less.
well,
And
for
less.
accessory buildings less than 144 square feet.
No, it's 144 and on,
144 or less.
because the,
So it's 144.
the ordinance is anything over 144.
Okay,
I'm just, yeah,
okay, for accessory buildings, 144 square feet or less. Correct?
bingo.
All right, that's fine.
Chairman Gage,
I,
Vice Chairman Lack,
Aye.
Board Member Ganster,
Aye.
Board Member Boggs, and Board Member Leone.
and again, also the fact that, and it does say in the ordinance that, again, accessory buildings 144 square feet or less don't require building permits. And then it doesn't really say anywhere in the ordinance that, that they're not subject to zoning setbacks. And again, that's where, again, we have to look at that. And then maybe we're gonna end up probably making recommendations similar to what we did for fencing. But this would be a way to field input and then, again, fine tune the ordinance itself.
Races, is that correct?
Yes, Lance Nannis, he lives next door. Oh,
And it's a major concern in law.
well, that's one of them. But, this is,
He did raise the issue that you cannot build you cannot with a very build a fence as high as
and, and so,
ordinance that allows you to set up
so, and I know a building that's 10 by 14 is at least 10 feet, 11 feet high. So it would constitute kind of, a height obstruction, especially if, it's pretty darn close to the property line. But, and again, this was their comments. Well, again, and by all means, look into this. And because Chris,
He just ran upstairs quick.
he was asked by the owner of this, shed, is it okay if I put it here? There is nothing in the ordinance that would prevent, him as the owner from doing so. And he'd gotten the okay from the building inspector. That's again, part of this is an appeal of the building inspector's decision to allow this to happen. But from building, inspector's perspective, there was nothing, for him to say, oh, no, you can't do that. You have to have it so far away. There's really not anything that, we would be able to render a variance of, because there's nothing that we would basically say, well, it's gotta be 10 feet away. They put it, 3 feet, so they would need a 7-foot variance kind of thing. Also, again, and this is my understanding, is that amendments to the zoning ordinance don't necessarily act retroactively. Like, we're not gonna go around to every, accessory building and require that they be moved. That would be, just silly to even consider that. I mean, everybody, and normally because R2, the lots the size that they are, people have accessory buildings that are pretty far from generally people's main dwelling, because usually your main dwelling is significantly far from your own, property line, so it's unlikely. It just, that section of Albert Road, those lots are smaller. This is proximate enough to Mr. Manis's, property and his dwelling, where it's not out of, realm of unreasonableness for him to question whether this is okay to have there. That makes sense. Okay, so hopefully everybody will be here next time. Well, especially because this is kind of significant. And like I say, if anything, we may decide one way or another, I'm not gonna go any further with it, but we make a decision. We'll have the opportunity to find out from Teresa, what the consequences, let's say, decide that it should be set back far, how do you get it moved? I mean, that's really, we don't have the authority to actually make the, property owner move it. We make a recommendation that it should be, elsewhere, but that becomes a different concern, and I don't have all the specific answer for that.
So Nelson, you asked if Steve got, when I went upstairs, sorry, you asked if he got approval from me to put the shed there?
Yeah.
Basically, yes.
Okay,
He came in and asked if he needed a building permit for
right,
it. I told him no.
which
He
is
asked
correct.
me if it was okay to set it where in the proximity he was gonna set it.
Yeah,
And the only thing we said was, to try to make it even with the front of the house, if you're gonna do that, right?
as
Don't,
far as the
don't,
front setback.
right,
yeah.
don't put it up by the ditch.
Right. And again, there's an acknowledgement on your part that there wasn't nothing that was guiding you as to say, no, you can't put it here,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there's some of these over towards Mariahville that are 15 feet from the front from the
Well,
road. You know what I
Again,
mean?
what has been permitted in the past is one thing, but
Right.
again, going forward, we need to be a
Right.
little more precise as to how these things could be.
You also have to consider where the shed would go, if people aren't putting them up against the property.
Well, again, there are in other municipalities setbacks for accessory buildings.
Right.
And if this were an accessory building greater than 144 square feet, well, then there are setbacks. But because this one is, and like a 10 by 14 is a pretty good size building. I mean, I have one on my property. In fact, now I think of it, I've got 3 accessory buildings. But
Small farms.
well, and again, and this is what Teresa was mentioning, that we have to be somewhat, conscious of the fact. An agricultural, operation might have like a run-in shed or something like that, that would not inhibit, their placement of sheds important for their farming operation.
So the other thing that I thought about too is we have a percentage for undersized lots, right? Like where the house would go. those don't apply to accessory buildings. So if you force an accessory building to go by the setbacks, that shed would be in the middle of his backyard.
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
Most people are gonna put their sheds. I would put my shed corner, it's out of the way. You know, where it's
Yeah.
function.
right.
The problem is runoff, then maybe the planning board pass an ordinance about.
well,
This is the sort of thing you go to the planning board, you know.
Yeah.
An accessory building on your property, it's not a planning
no,
board.
but, you know, and again, as far as runoff's concerned, when, well, if somebody,
I can't see runoff from a 10 by 14 shed being a real, I just,
okay, but say, all right,
it's the same amount of rain that's going on the grass.
okay, but, all right, just for, say, a house construction.
Yeah.
That doesn't require, you know, any permission by either the planning or the zoning board, they would just come to you, right?
Right.
Okay, so. I mean, I could see where in the course of, you know, a site planning. You know, maybe either board, primarily the planning board, would take into consideration runoff, which they do on large projects. Correct?
Yes.
There's some like, what is the SWIPs, the stormwater?
Yeah, anything more than an acre.
Right.
Right.
I mean, again, that might be something that we would have to acknowledge. It might end up making more work for you, but it just seems that, you know, if there are concerns about water runoff, how do you
Yeah,
prevent
but I mean,
that from having an impact on other people's?
a 50 by 80 house in a 1 acre area is minute. All the water, you know what I'm saying? And this,
Fair
you're
enough.
talking about a 10 by 14 shed. I don't think that's the root of this.
No. But
By any means.
it's not an unreasonable
not.
request in the fact that I know a 10 by 14 is higher than a 6 foot. And right now the ordinance says the limit on fence height is 6 foot.
Right. Yeah,
Oh,
you can
so,
go higher, you just need a variance, but you
yeah,
can't go higher than 10 feet.
well, it's generally not allowed because, and part of the reason for that 6 foot limit is to kind of, deal with what's considered a spike fence, where
Yeah.
somebody might decide what to annoy their neighbor, they raise their fence to 10 feet.
I get it, but you just gave somebody a variance 2 months ago for an oversized fence. For an 8
8
foot
foot,
fence.
and that's why,
I'm just saying,
but,
like,
and that was within the wiggle room. And again, those circumstances, because his property was proximate to a
no,
commercial
I
operation.
totally get the
Oh, yeah.
circumstance. I'm just saying it,
Yeah,
what the ordinance says. Maximum height is 10 feet. With a
Uh,
variance. I could show it to you. It says right in the ordinance that fences can't be higher than 10 feet.
all right,
But you,
show me where that says,
Okay.
because,
But the same
It's
ordinance
normally
doesn't say
6
that
foot.
your 144 square
So-
foot shed can't be 50 feet.
I'm gonna question the whole applicability of the fence shed.
Yeah.
Comparison,
Yeah.
because a shed is a short. It's talking 10 feet, whereas a fence can be the length of the property.
well, that's one
So
component,
apples
right.
and oranges.
But it's still, again, it's not something that's addressed in the ordinance. And again,
But if you can have an unlimited number of these sheds,
yeah,
you can run the length of the
Well,
property.
it's not- it can't be that way.
all right, show me the ordinance where it says you can't.
Maximum coverage.
Yeah, but you know how many sheds? All right, look for R2.
That's how many acres you have.
Yeah.
It's an R2.
Well, if the sheds are adjoining, then they're a fence, they're no longer a shed.
Well, that was only the example I was making.
next month's meeting will be 3.5 hours.
Like I say,
Also, the
Because it
person
will
who
be.
would spend
I know it seems absurd, but there's nothing to prevent somebody from doing it. But R2 also says, and this is a permitted use,
It's just gonna have a website.
agricultural, provided domestic farm animals are kept in buildings and structures not less
It
than
might be
two
a
hundred
town
feet
email list
away
too,
from
that Jen
neighboring
has,
property.
that she can.
So there, they are providing a setback. But R2, again, we're talking 100,000 square feet.
She can
That's
list it up.
2.2 acres. There's more than, again, enough land really to not have something
Like
be
6,000
as much of an impact
notices.
on the neighboring property. So maximum lot coverage for
Get started.
R2 is 25%. So if it, all right, so what's 25%?
Might want to stay late
So
tonight.
you could go up to 25,000 square feet. So if you had a house that, I don't know, what? I don't know, what's
Over a quarter acre, so.
yeah, I mean, that's a lot of lot coverage. So you could, you know, theoretically litter your property with,
Do you need it?
yeah, well, again, that's kind of why you know, we need to address this and we'll probably end up coming up with recommendations.
I feel like that's an impossible scenario.
What is that?
The idea that somebody's gonna cover their property.
It doesn't matter if there's nothing to prevent somebody from doing it, then theoretically, and I mean. We don't want to address it because it seems absurd. I was just looking at it and I stayed, there was, a variance application in one of the neighboring towns. Had to do with accessory buildings and they already have addressed the issue again of the number of accessory buildings that you can have. You know, and sometimes they're limited in terms of percentage of the main dwelling. So if your main dwelling is 20 by, I don't know, 50, you know, you could only have, say, 10% of that covered by accessory buildings. This is where, again, we'll take, you know, some clue of other, you know, municipalities that have addressed it and how we could, kind of
Hey, where's the smaller the main house, the bigger the accessory building.
well, again.
My
most of the
garage is
time,
bigger than
it's
my
not a
house.
Consideration, most people have enough property, so it's not gonna be placed so that somebody's gonna take exception. Like I'm saying, if you look at this, this is where I would recommend that everybody go up Albert Road, just off of 20. You know, you go past Pasano's place there, and it's on the right if you're heading west. So take a look and see.
It's on the left if you're heading west.
All right, you're right, it's on the left. So you could get an idea of what the scenario is. Did you see this? Okay, this, yeah.
So this is the shed in question.
Yes.
Yeah, this is the wording of the public hearing notice. So,
Okay.
uh,
Copy.
well, it,
I'll make a copy of it out.
yeah, all right.
Yep.
Do you want to make a copy of those pictures for me too, Karen?
They should be in the record, if
Carol.
they are not.
Oh, yeah, there's a copy right
Carol, Carol, you can copy on it, yeah. You just can't print from computers. No, it's on. You turn it on.
Yeah, yeah, right, mixed units is a whole different thing. But there's even, say, the more, you know, rural communities like ours, there are.
I believe like, you know where Davenport is? out by Oneana. It's before Oneana, Davenport is the exit before it's small. It's kind of like us. They have one I read where they just list them at 5 feet. You know what I mean? It's 5 feet from the lot line. Yeah, right.
Right.
We don't have a setback on fencing. I try to tell people 3 feet. So they can maintain both sides, obviously, but doesn't always work.
So again, the original, then expecting email, based on conversations that it had with Chris and Dale, and was just, you know, wondering about, how this could be addressed, and if it, and I said, all right, we'll look at it. And when he came to the meeting last time, and we kind of addressed it somewhat informally within the open forum part of the meeting. And then, Teresa thought it best, and we kind of agreed that we reach out to her and get her input. And she suggested that we have the public hearing and we address it formally with a vote. So, no, it would be part of the zone. We're gonna be.
We had a special one to deal with the fence of the solar,
Yes, because.
so it's gonna be similar to that.
Right, because some people were thinking that, the town ordinance with the 6-foot, height restrictions, which doesn't allow for any variance. But it is required, as part of the solar project. Right, the National Electric Code says. Right. So we, instead of doing it piecemeal, because every time one of those projects would come, basically the planning board, they would look to us, want a variance. It's better to address it so that they would be, permitted to approve something with an 8-foot fence because it's required by the National Electrical Code, which makes sense. Which is kind of what we would acknowledge. So is that clear then, as far as what we're, so that, again, you can, go to other towns, look at their zoning ordinance, see what they have in place for accessory buildings and take it from there. The other thing, I sent a link, Hudson Valley on the 20th of October is having their planning and zoning training. So if you could attend that, it would be recommended. You can do the training all in one day. I think you can get reimbursed by the town. If you attend, you've got to obviously be there and get your certificate, and then you're good. Fair enough. Well, then you can do it the other way. We had been doing it during the pandemic and restricted access. I mean, I don't know. I'm retired. It's easy for me to go and do that. I know you were there last year. Yeah. So
We're not planning on having anything.
No. Now, that's why I recommend this, because, I mean, I don't know, we may get back to that, but this seems to come up at a, frequent enough basis. It's, the Capital District Regional Planning Commission, and they do this, to provide training, for this very issue. But again, you could still I don't know, do the webinars. Again, I can send the links out, it's New York Department of State, and then I think it's, local community. You know, list of trainings that could be done, so you can do it that way as well.
I can take legal. Building related continuing the legal those needs resolved.
There you go.
That's what I've been doing the last several years.
Yeah. All right. Any questions? Oh,
And we have a piece into kind of a second open forum that we have.
I think that was longer ago.
Okay.
I think she was on via Zoom,
Yeah.
but
I thought that was last month. Okay.
no. And again, apparently now Zoom is gonna be restricted, so. Because again, what?
I think she was live. I think she may have been late. So we reopened. That was a month before. Okay. Now we're
But we
checking
can
out.
send it. Then she said, oh,
But yeah, 200 minutes. Dan, are you getting town emails now?
I am.
Good, yes.
Yeah, so I went every day and then, so out with fresh.
There you go. Yeah. Good. Excellent. And again, it's preferable because our correspondence, you know, if we use our personal emails, that could be potentially subject to, yes, and probably most of us would prefer that not to be. So that's why, again, that's what the town email is all about.
On the office password.
Okay, but at least you're set up. Gentlemen, have any other questions?
No, I'm just taking in all this.
Good.
I have suggestions for things, just what I do on my laptop too. Interesting to see the growing page you're on.
Well,
Yes, and it-
you needed members if you wanted to.
There you go.
That is, you just might have join in. Yeah.
I had one former member who applied for a variance. And shortly thereafter joined the board. Now actually on the town board.
Like the gentleman with the garage. Maybe from. Have. Get a surveyor to do a topo map showing where water's running from the house and the structure he's supposed to put in. Contour.
GIS or not, just pressing the buttons.
mhm.
All of that is information probably accessible to us.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
yeah, this-
yeah.
that would put either his problem at rest or lets him know what he's gotta do, correct?
Right, provide at least a potential solution. Yeah,
And then your situation with the accessory buildings,
yes,
I thought it was 100 square foot or more needed for that.
144.
right,
So. Whatever the math would be, anything up to cubic feet. For a, 12 by 12. The cubic foot, have to have permits per cubic foot, anything under for an accessory building. Now you can regulate the height.
well, yeah, that's a thought, yeah. I mean, because accessory buildings, I don't know, even the sheds people have at the end of their driveway for their kids waiting for the school bus. I mean, you know, if you consider that an accessory building, well, some people almost have it such because they're kind of elaborate, you know, to a degree, so.
How many has a roof on it?
Well, that's, and again, this, we may need to define, you know,
The assessor would consider it an accessory structure.
an accessory.
It's an accessory structure, it's a. Well, they're calling it building. Yeah.
Well, and I know these sheds, that they prescribe like a certain base, you know, that you have to have, I guess, because they won't like insure it. Like if you don't set it on what they consider as substantial base, usually some kind of crushed stone, you know, a pad, you know, if you just set it on your lawn, or it may not plumb after, you know, a couple of years, and then all of a sudden it may not hold up as well. Which makes me think it's a little more permanent because you're actually putting a sense of a foundation for this thing to be more permanently placed, but again, that's. Can I ask you, so where's the
Why, what are they
property that
asking me?
you were concerned about located? Yeah,
On Lawson Road,
Lawson Road.
both sides of Lawson.
Okay. So, and this was in 2010? That original?
That's when they got the, yeah. I took
Where the
ownership.
variance was denied when they actually built it.
Yeah,
Our permit was issued September 3rd, 2010.
okay.
I took ownership of this property in 2016. Tax foreclosure.
I think I was on the board, but I wasn't chairperson, so I don't know.
I joined until 14, I don't.
I don't know if anybody's familiar with the old Dodge property. An eyesore. And cleaned up quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because I know, I guess as the town grows and becomes a little more populated, that at one time, people were far enough away from each other that less, you know, concern, you know, what your neighbor was doing, but now that people are kind of.
Pat probably remembers.
I'm sure he does, yeah. But, you know, so a lot of times the ordinance, you know, aren't always keeping up with what, is actually starting to occur in real life scenarios, but. All right, so meeting minutes, anything? Okay.
So if you don't have anything, you're in here, I move to approve the minutes. Of the
Thank you.
15th meeting as written.
Chair. I'll second it.
Vice Chairman Lack.
Aye.
Chairman Gage,
Aye.
Board Member Ganster, Board Member Boggs,
Yeah, somebody's got it.
What are you asking about?
You kind of say I'll go.
Board Member Boggs,
Aye.
and Board Member Leone.
I don't know, you have to look for it, Jim.
Yeah.
We need 4 votes.
Yeah, we do need 4, so.
Okay.
It didn't have as much detail regarding the discussion, you know, in regard to the accessory buildings, but all of this is being recorded, right? So there is kind of at least an audio recording of what did occur in the meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's kept so that if we needed to go back and find out what.
Yes.
Recording there and here.
All right, so,
It keeps recording.
all right, so
I
somebody,
move that we adjourn the meeting.
and I'll second that as well.
Vice Chairman Lack,
Aye.
Chairman Gage,
Aye.
Board Member Ganster,
Aye.
Board Member Boggs, and Board Member Leoni.
Aye.
Thank you.
Yeah.